Something terrible happened in that cabin deep in the woods. A place where the silence wasn't peaceful, it was deadly. Friends disappeared one by one, whispers turned into screams, and shadows moved with a life of their own. They thought it was just an old cabin, but it was a trap. A nightmare waiting to be awakened. Tonight you're about to hear what really happened, if you dare to listen. Before we begin, don't forget to follow and support this channel. Your support means everything and helps bring more chilling stories right to you. Now let's step inside, if you're brave enough. If I could go back and say no to that trip, I would. Every single time. Josh had always been the spontaneous one. We'd barely exchanged texts in the last few months, but suddenly, on a Wednesday night, he sent me a link. A remote cabin rental deep in the Oregon woods. No Wi-Fi. No neighbors. Nothing but trees, stars, and a fireplace. You need this, man, he said. We all do. Claire was going. Rachel too. And of course, Derek would bring his GoPro and try to document everything like he always did. I hesitated, but I hadn't seen these people together in over a year. Life had gotten in the way, work, breakups, distance. Maybe this would help reset something. We left early Friday morning in Josh's old SUV, loaded with snacks, sleeping bags, and too much beer. The drive started normal enough. Music loud. Windows cracked open. The forest rolling in like a green ocean as we got deeper into nowhere. I remember the exact moment the signal died. 1 minute I was scrolling through a playlist, and the next, nothing. No service. The GPS glitched, froze, then shut off completely. Josh laughed it off. Said the directions were saved in his email. But of course, with no reception, we couldn't access that either. Don't worry, Josh said. I remember the route. Of course he did. The road narrowed the further we drove. Pavement gave way to dirt, then gravel, then something that barely qualified as a trail. Trees pressed close to the car, brushing the windows like long fingers. It felt like we were driving into the past. Or into something that didn't want us there. We didn't see another car for hours. No houses. No power lines. Not even wildlife. I looked at the clock. It was already past 6. Shouldn't we be there by now? Rachel asked from the back seat. Josh just shrugged. Almost. I think. It was nearly dark when we finally saw it. A tiny mailbox bent sideways at the edge of the road, half swallowed by ferns. Faded letters spelled out, Whittle's cabin. An arrow carved into the wood pointed down a barely visible path. Josh turned the wheel. We bumped along a rutted, overgrown driveway that felt like it hadn't been used in years. When the trees finally parted, the cabin emerged from the shadows. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. The photos had shown something quaint. Cozy. But this? The wood was darkened with age. The roof sagged. One of the shutters hung loose. The air smelled like damp earth and something else, something metallic and faintly sour. Okay, Derek said, hopping out with his camera already running. This is perfect. The rest of us stood still for a second. It was too quiet. No birds. No bugs. Just the low hum of the engine and the sound of our own breathing. Claire stepped closer to me. I felt her hand graze mine, but neither of us said anything. Josh was already dragging bags toward the front porch. Come on, it's just old. It's got character. Yeah. That's one way to put it. We hadn't even gone inside yet, and I already wanted to leave. The front door creaked open with a groan that felt too dramatic to be real. Josh gave it a shove, and it scraped against the warped wooden floor as we stepped inside. It was colder than it should have been. Colder than outside. The kind of cold that clung to your clothes and settled in your bones. The cabin smelled like mildew, wet dirt, and something faintly coppery. The living room was dim, even with the windows. Dust hung in the air like it hadn't been disturbed in years. There was a fireplace, just like in the pictures. A cracked leather couch. A round wooden table surrounded by mismatched chairs. But everything looked older. More worn. Like someone had lived here for decades and just left without a word. Josh fumbled with a switch on the wall. Nothing. Where's the power? I think the listing said it's on a generator, Rachel said. So we found it out back. A rusted machine under a sheet of tarp, growling to life after a few failed starts. The lights flickered when we turned them on, bare bulbs that buzzed and glowed too yellow, casting the cabin in a sickly hue. It didn't help. If anything, the place looked worse under light. We found a strange set of nails hammered into some of the window frames. Half rusted. Like someone had tried to seal the windows shut. Or keep something out. Inside the bedrooms, the mattresses sagged in the middle. The sheets were clean, surprisingly. Probably replaced by whoever prepped the place. But even those felt wrong. Like they didn't belong. The bathroom was tiny. A mirror spotted with age, sink chipped, faucet dripping slowly even though the water was off. Claire hadn't said a word since we got there. When I asked her if she was okay, she just gave a small shake of her head and said, "This place doesn't feel empty." Rachel rolled her eyes. "It's just old." Derek, of course, was loving it. His GoPro clicked on and off as he filmed every angle, narrating like some B-list horror vlogger. "Here we are, folks. Whittle's cabin. A true gem of the forgotten woods. Perfect spot for a weekend getaway, or maybe never coming back." Josh laughed. Nobody else did. We unpacked. Claimed our beds. Ate junk food and opened beers. But the mood never really lifted. That night, while brushing my teeth, I noticed something scratched into the inside of the bathroom mirror's wooden frame. It was faint, easy to miss unless the light hit it just right. It said, "Stay quiet at night." I didn't sleep much. The second day started with silence. No wind. No birds. Not even the sound of branches brushing the roof. It was the kind of silence that pressed against your ears and made you feel like you were underwater. Josh made coffee using bottled water and a small camp stove. Derek was already outside, filming himself walking in circles around the cabin, trying to find cool angles. Rachel stayed wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through her phone even though there was no signal. Claire just sat at the table, staring at her hands like she was trying to remember why we were here in the first place. And then Derek came running back inside, holding something in his hand. "You guys have to see this." He led us to the living room and pointed at a loose floorboard near the couch. It looked like someone had pried it up before. The nails were bent, the edges cracked. Derek had already pulled it open. Underneath was a shallow compartment. Dusty. Hidden. And inside it was a notebook. A small, black, leather-bound journal, worn and nearly falling apart. Josh picked it up. Probably just an old guest log. It wasn't. The handwriting was messy and inconsistent. Pages smeared. Some words scratched out with deep, angry lines. The first few entries were normal enough, names, dates, someone mentioning how peaceful the cabin was. But as we flipped further, the tone changed. Paranoia. Rambling sentences. Repeated phrases. Scribbled drawings of trees, eyes, something with sharp limbs. Rachel read aloud. "Something walks around the cabin every night. I tried to leave. The path changed. I came back to the same place twice. It watches from the tree line. It waits for sound." Josh scoffed. "Someone was just trying to scare people. Like an urban legend thing." But Claire didn't laugh. She turned the page slowly, like she already knew what she was going to see. The final entry was only 3 words. Scrawled in thick, shaking letters. "Don't let it in." Derek muttered. "Hell yeah. This is gold." But no one else spoke. The room felt smaller now. Like the walls were listening. That night, we stayed up late around the fireplace. Nobody admitted they were scared, but no one went to bed early either. We played card games. Listened to old music from Josh's Bluetooth speaker. Tried to pretend we weren't thinking about that journal. At some point, Rachel got up to use the bathroom. She was gone longer than she should have been. When she finally came back, her face was pale. "I thought I heard someone whispering," she said quietly. "Outside the window. But there's no one out there." We all went still. Then the lights flickered. Once. Twice. And then the generator cut out. The lights died with a low, electric groan. One by one, the bulbs dimmed into nothing, leaving only the faint glow of the fire and the sound of someone's breath catching in their throat. Josh cursed and grabbed a flashlight from his bag. Derek followed with his phone light, already recording again like this was all part of some script. But it didn't feel like a script anymore. Claire stayed close to the fireplace, eyes locked on the nearest window. I noticed her hand was trembling. Rachel wouldn't move from her spot. She just kept staring at the window across the room. Her voice came out thin and flat. "It was standing right there." We all looked. "Nothing," Josh muttered. "Probably a deer." But we all knew it wasn't. No one said it, but we knew. The air had shifted. It wasn't just cold anymore. It was thick, like the walls were pressing in. The kind of heavy stillness that comes right before a thunderstorm, only worse. Josh and Derek went out to check the generator. Claire pulled me aside before they left. "Something's out there. I heard it last night too. It doesn't move like an animal." I wanted to tell her she was just tired, that we were all letting the journal get to us. But then I remembered the way Rachel looked when she came back from the bathroom. Like something had taken a piece of her. Josh's voice rang out from behind the cabin. "Found it!" We heard the generator sputter back to life, lights flickering on again one room at a time. But before they could fully brighten, Derek's voice cut through the walls. Loud. Panicked. "Wait, who's that?" Then silence. We ran outside, flashlights cutting through the thick dark like knives. Josh was already halfway to the tree line, shouting Derek's name. No answer. And then we saw him. Derek stood about 20 feet away from the cabin, just at the edge of the trees. Facing us, but unmoving. No camera in his hand. No light. "Derek?" Rachel called. "Are you okay?" He didn't respond. I stepped forward. That's when I saw it. His mouth was moving, but no sound came out. Just a slow, repeated motion. Like he was whispering something over and over again, but only to himself. Then the flashlight caught something behind him. Between the trees. Just for a second. A shape. Pale. Thin. Too tall. The legs too long. The head wrong. Then it was gone. Derek collapsed. Josh reached him first. He was breathing, eyes wide, shivering. He wouldn't speak. We carried him back inside, laid him down on the couch. His lips kept moving, like a loop he couldn't break. Claire leaned in, trying to read them. I watched her face pale. "What's he saying?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "He's repeating the last line from the journal." Derek didn't sleep that night. None of us did. He lay on the couch, eyes wide, staring at the ceiling, whispering those same words over and over. "Don't let it in. Don't let it in." Josh stayed close to him, trying to calm him down, but Derek wouldn't respond. His skin was clammy, his fingers twitching constantly like he was stuck in some kind of loop. Rachel was pacing near the fireplace, hugging herself. "This isn't normal. We need to get him to a hospital." "No signal," Claire reminded her. "Even if we left right now, we're hours away from help. We shouldn't wait until morning," I said. Josh hesitated, then went to grab the keys. That's when we noticed something. The keys were gone. He checked the hook by the door. The drawer. His backpack. His coat pocket. Nothing. "You sure you had them?" I asked. "I drove the car here, didn't I?" Josh snapped. We all looked at each other. It wasn't just panic anymore, it was turning into dread. Then Claire froze. Her eyes slowly shifted to the floorboards near the couch. She knelt down and picked something up. The key ring. They were sitting just under the edge of the open floorboard where Derek had found the journal earlier. No one dropped them there, she whispered. That compartment was closed again. Someone put them back. Josh took the keys and headed for the door. I followed. The second he opened it, I felt it. Cold. Not like air conditioner cold. It felt alive. A pulse in the wind. A presence just beyond the porch. We stepped out. The flashlight cut across the driveway where we parked the SUV. The car was still there, but all 4 tires were flat. Slashed. Josh didn't say a word. He just stared at them like he was waiting for the image to change. And then we heard it. A sound from the woods. Soft. Almost delicate. Clicking. Rhythmic. Like 2 stones tapping together, or bones. Claire appeared in the doorway behind us. Go back inside. Rachel helped us drag furniture against the door. The couch. The table. Anything we could move. Derek was still whispering. The cabin groaned in the wind. But it wasn't the wind making that sound. It was lower. More deliberate. Like breathing through the walls. We turned off the lights. Sat in the dark. Listened. That's when the clicking stopped. And the footsteps began. Slow. Deliberate. Circling the cabin. One by one, we heard it move past each window. A dragging sound followed by silence. Then again. Closer. Rachel clutched my arm. Her whisper was barely a breath. It's listening. We all sat frozen. And then, a knock. Just one. From the back of the cabin. We didn't move. None of us even breathed. That single knock echoed through the cabin like it had come from inside a cave. Not loud. Not hard. Just enough to say, I'm here. Josh stood up slowly, his silhouette barely lit by the dying fireplace glow. I'm checking it. No, Claire hissed. Don't open anything. He ignored her. Stepped over Derek, still whispering. Crossed the room and approached the hallway that led to the back door. The rest of us stayed frozen. Another knock. Softer this time. Josh disappeared into the dark hallway. I reached for a flashlight and turned it on, sweeping it across the room, searching for something, anything, we could use to defend ourselves. But it felt useless. Like whatever was out there wasn't afraid of weapons. Then we heard him. Who's there? His voice cracked at the end. No response came back. I stood, moved toward the hallway, and that's when I saw his shadow. Frozen. Perfectly still. Josh? I called. No answer. I stepped closer, heart pounding so hard it made my ears ring. The air got colder with each step. A draft leaking through the boards. Or something worse. I found him staring at the door. There was no peephole. Just a thick wooden slab. But something on the other side of that door was breathing. I could hear it now. Faint, wet breaths, like someone exhaling directly against the wood. Josh whispered, "It's not knocking anymore." Then we heard it. Scratching. Not like fingernails. More like something hard. A claw? A bone? Dragging down the length of the door slowly, like it was tasting the wood. And then, it said something. A voice. Garbled. Inhuman. Like it was mimicking human speech but hadn't learned how to shape the words yet. It sounded like, "Let me in." Josh stumbled back. I grabbed his arm and yanked him down the hallway with me, back into the main room. Claire had already pulled Derek into the corner, shielding him with her body. Rachel had a fireplace poker in her hands, aimed at the window like she was expecting it to come through at any second. "What was it?" Claire asked. Josh didn't answer. His mouth was open, but no sound came out. Then Rachel turned her head slowly toward the front window. And I saw it too. A face. Not pressed against the glass. In the glass? Like it had formed in the reflection. Wrong. Hollow eyes. A mouth stretched too wide. No nose. Just empty space where it should have been. It moved when we moved. Mimicked us. Rachel backed away and it backed away. She stepped forward, and so did it. Only, we hadn't moved at all. We stared at it. And then its smile grew wider than human skin should allow. The lights flickered. The fire went out. And we were plunged into total darkness. The dark was alive. Thick, suffocating. It felt like being buried, not under dirt, but under something worse. Something watching from every direction. Derek had stopped whispering. He just sat there, staring at the fireplace like he expected it to reignite on its own. Claire held him close, whispering his name, over and over. Rachel's hands were trembling around the iron poker, now just a silhouette in the dark. Josh was pacing, flashlight beam jumping wildly across the walls, the floor, the windows. The shadows it cast didn't move the way they should have. Sometimes they didn't move at all. And once, I swear, I saw one move before the light even hit it. "It's inside," Josh muttered. "I think it's already inside." "Don't say that," Claire snapped. "Don't give it that." Then the sound started again. Scraping. Inside the walls. Soft at first. Like nails dragging through insulation. Then louder, like something was moving just beneath the wooden paneling. Crawling. Searching. Rachel turned toward the sound. "Why does it know we're here?" No one answered. But I remembered the journal. It waits for sound. I held my breath. Tried to stay still. Josh didn't. He took another step, and a floorboard creaked beneath his foot. Everything went silent. The scratching stopped. The wind outside stopped. Even the shadows seemed to freeze. Then boom. A loud, sudden slam against the back door. We all jumped. Rachel screamed. Claire covered Derek's ears, her own face frozen in panic. Then boom. Again. Louder. Like something was throwing its entire weight at the door, again and again. Josh dropped the flashlight. It clattered to the ground and rolled, beams spinning like a lighthouse around the room. Every time it passed the window, that face was closer. It didn't blink. It didn't move like a person. It was like a memory trying to wear skin. Claire stood suddenly. "Upstairs. Go." We didn't argue. I grabbed Derek. Josh snatched up the flashlight. Rachel was the last up, backing up the stairs while still pointing the poker toward the door. The booming didn't stop. Louder. Stronger. The wood creaked, cracked. We made it to the small bedroom upstairs and slammed the door shut behind us. Josh pushed a dresser in front of it, then collapsed against the wall. We all stood there, out of breath, ears straining. Nothing. Silence again. I moved to the window. Looked out over the woods. The moon was gone. Or hidden. The trees looked like black needles against the sky. Then something moved below. Not in the trees. On the roof. Soft, slow footsteps. Right above us. I turned back to the others. "It's on top of the cabin." We froze. No one spoke. No one moved. The footsteps above us creaked ever so gently, heel to toe, slow and deliberate, like something was savoring the sound. It walked across the roof like it had all the time in the world. Josh mouthed, "Don't move." The ceiling above the bed groaned. It was directly above us. Rachel stood by the wall, clutching the fireplace poker, her eyes locked on the ceiling. Derek hadn't spoken a word in over an hour. He sat against the corner, knees pulled to his chest, whispering something new now, something quieter. Claire crawled toward him, listening, trying to make it out. "It's counting," she whispered. "He's counting backwards." "From what?" I didn't want to know. The footsteps stopped. Then, from the window beside me, a tapping sound. Not loud. Not aggressive. Gentle. Like someone was trying to draw us in. Tap. 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 I didn't look. Rachel did. She was only there for a second, just a second, but when she turned back around, her face was pale and her hands had started to shake. "What did you see?" I whispered. She didn't answer. Claire moved toward her. "Rachel." She had my face. Rachel whispered. "What?" She started crying. It wasn't just watching. It was me. But wrong. Smiling too wide. Eyes all black. Like it was proud to wear me. Then a voice from the window, from outside. It was Rachel's voice. Clear. Calm. I'm cold. Let me in. We all stepped back from the glass. Rachel dropped the poker. Josh grabbed her by the shoulders. Don't listen to it. But it sounds like me, she whimpered. It knows what I sound like. The roof creaked again. This time, something heavy hit it hard, like knees slamming onto the shingles. It was crouching. Then it crawled. Fast. Over the peak of the cabin, toward the front. Josh snapped his fingers. It's going for the door. He raced to the window, trying to see the porch. Claire yanked him back. No! That's what it wants. You look, and it gets closer. I grabbed a chair and jammed it under the door handle. The whole room was buzzing now. I could feel it in the floorboards, in my teeth. Like static, or an earthquake you couldn't see. Derek suddenly stopped counting. We turned to him. His eyes were rolled back. Then, in a voice that didn't belong to him, low and guttural and too deep for a human throat, he said, "One of you already let it in." No one spoke. We just stared at Derek, at his hollowed face and pale lips, as that impossible voice echoed through the cramped upstairs bedroom. "One of you already let it in." Josh stepped back, slowly. "What the hell does that mean?" Derek's body slumped. His head dropped forward, chin to his chest. Then he whispered, barely audible. "Downstairs." Claire knelt beside him, shaking his shoulders. "Derek, what's downstairs? What did you let in?" No answer. His body was limp. Breathing, but barely. Like whatever was speaking through him had let go. Rachel backed up against the wall. "He said one of us." Her voice was cracking now. "He said one of us let it in." "Don't," I said. "Don't start that." But it was too late. Josh stood still, scanning our faces. His eyes lingered a second too long on Rachel. "You looked at it. Through the window." "I didn't do anything," she snapped. "It was already here." "Maybe looking is how it gets in," Claire whispered. "Maybe that's the invitation." "That's not fair," Rachel cried. "It sounded like me. Would you not have looked if it was your voice outside?" Silence. Josh turned to me. "You went into the woods? Alone? You came back and everything started happening." I took a step toward him. "You think I brought it here? I don't know what to think." The tension in the room turned sharp, dangerous. Claire stood and raised her hands. "Stop! This is what it wants. It wants us turning on each other." Then, as if answering her, the dresser blocking the door slid an inch. All by itself. We all backed up. It moved again. Slow. Scraping wood on wood. Another inch. Josh lunged, slammed his body against the door. "It's trying to come up." We pushed the chair tighter under the knob. Held the door. Listened. Footsteps. On the stairs. But not fast, not aggressive. Slow. Confident. Something was climbing. I leaned closer, pressing my ear to the door. For a moment, I didn't hear anything. Then, breathing. Right on the other side. Low. Animalistic. Then a knock. Not loud. Just a single tap. Familiar. It was mimicking the one from earlier. Claire backed away from the door. "It's already in," she whispered. "It's testing us." Josh's voice cracked. "What if it's already one of us?" Rachel was trembling now. "Then what do we do?" Before anyone could answer, the lights flickered, just for a second, and in that blink of brightness, Derek was standing. He hadn't moved a muscle. Not that we'd seen. But now he was upright, facing the window, eyes open and blank. Then he whispered, "It's not wearing skin anymore." The room fell into silence. Derek's words hung in the air like poison. "It's not wearing skin anymore." Rachel sobbed, backing away until she hit the wall. Josh stared at Derek like he just lost his mind. Claire whispered prayers under her breath. I looked around, desperate for any plan, anything. The knocking started again. Soft. Insistent. This time, not from the door. From inside the walls. Tap. 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 The scratching returned, louder now, like claws scraping wood, moving closer. Around the corner. Beneath the floorboards. Above the ceiling. We knew the cabin was no longer safe. Get your stuff, I said, voice shaking but firm. We have to leave. Now. Josh grabbed the keys from his pocket. Wait. They were there. How? We all froze. The keys. The ones that had vanished. Josh looked at me, his eyes wide with fear. The knocking stopped. For a moment, nothing. Then a voice, low, guttural, but unmistakably Rachel's, whispered through the dark. Don't leave. Stay with me. Rachel screamed. The windows shattered. Cold air rushed in. The face appeared again in the broken glass. Smiling. Not Rachel's smile. Something worse. We bolted down the stairs. Josh swung open the front door. The night was black and silent. No footsteps on the roof. No shadows. Just the empty forest waiting. We ran. Behind us, the cabin groaned, as if it was breathing. Alive. Waiting. The cabin in the woods still stands. But the thing inside is not gone. It's waiting for the next sound. The next breath. The next mistake.